Hello, everybody. How are you, bright lights? Welcome to another episode of Waking Up to Your True Potential. My name is Laura Rinankowski, and I'm an international life and relationship coach. And I coach in English, Spanish, Finnish, and Italian. I'm so excited to have my guest today. My guest today is Orla Phelan, and Orla is a spiritual healer and guide, and she helps people connect with their inner guidance. She also helps people align with their joy and path of service. And she offers one-to-one workshops and retreats. And Orla is Irish. She lived in New Zealand and Mallorca, and she worked as a healer there. And then she returned to Ireland in 2012. And Orla and myself have known each other for a long time. So it's so nice to see you, Orla. You're very welcome today.
Thank you, Laura. It's so nice to be here with you. Thanks for having me
on. Thank you so much. It's so great to have you here. You know, we've known each other for such a long time. You know, we're part of the same circles. You know, the same circles here in Ireland. So yeah, it's such a pleasure to have you here today. And Orla, one of the things that you specialize in is running a cleansing program. And I've actually taken your cleansing program, so I can vouch for how good your cleansing program is. I actually took it a year ago. So and I know that you've had your own health challenges. So can you tell me a little bit more about your journey?
Sure, Laura, I'd love to. Thank you. Yeah, so cleansing has been a really big part of my journey. Firstly, I'm all about awakening to who we truly are, to why we came here, to being of service on this planet, to a life of ease, a life of happiness, a life of joy, to seeing our challenges from a broader picture as opportunities and keys to liberating ourselves so that we can live a more harmonious journey. I did get into in about early 2003. That's when it kind of all started for me, the journey into spirituality, the journey into, oh, I'm a soul. I'm not just the story of this lifetime. And my whole world began to change. You know, that was the biggest year of my life up to that point. And I got into meditation. It played a huge role in my journey. I got into out-of-body experiences, like a fish to water. I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd had, mystical experiences from 3 to 12. And so I think it had always left me a bit open. So as soon as I kind of found this area and somebody to guide me in this area, and actually Maria Jesus Lopez was my first guide and teacher. And I know you've interviewed Maria, and she was also my friend. So that was wonderful. And yeah, how we're all interconnected now.
Yeah.
I just, my whole life began to change. You know, it can be so challenging, this journey, so confusing sometimes being in this world. Like, you're being sold something by the media, you're being told to be successful, you're being told to make money, you're being told to be educated, you're being told to be in a relationship, and you're told like, this is success. And you're like, okay, better be successful. Like, I'm gonna try at least,
Yeah.
And then you begin to get these things and you're like, I just feel terrible like this.
This isn't making me happy. What's going on?
I was sold this as the key to happiness, and it's not working. So, and even worse again, like, what do I do now? Because I have no idea where to start.
Yeah.
So, for me, this began to bring the happiness in. And that's why I think I took to it like, level of I am, whereas a lot of living in this world was more on a superficial level up to that time of, just trying to do the checklist, like lots of people are trying to do their best. So I had this wonderful year of expansion, of growth. I got into healing, got into meditation, deeper connection. But funnily enough, what happens to a lot of people is that the big expansion then leads to a crisis, which is often called a healing crisis or a spiritual crisis. So this happened to me, and I moved to New Zealand after having this wonderful year, after feeling better than I ever had in my life, after feeling like, oh, there's meaning here. But suddenly things began to fall apart. I began to, stop doing my meditation, because obviously when you're not feeling great, it's so hard to take on practices to boost yourself, because you just haven't got that like motivation or that drive. And then I hadn't really suffered from anxiety in my life, or the stress on a deep level, but all of that began to come. So I went through what is almost like, shaking of the diamond being created in the coal. And just like everything's falling apart. As in like my thoughts about who I am and what made sense to me, just and it was a lot of heartache. And it really resonates now with what a lot of people are going through in the world. As you know, we're releasing attachments, we're having a lot of isolation, a lot of loneliness, a lot of heartache, a lot of tears, a lot of emotion. And it's really great to chat with you now, because I know you've had your challenges too, and I know that they're part of the makeup of anyone who's really on the spiritual path. It comes with the territory. But you know, if there's anyone out there who is going through this challenge, who is either falling apart or is wondering how to make sense of it all, or is experiencing the confusion, or just looking to connect, that you know, yourself, you're connecting with so many people, including this conversation, where we can say it's going to work out, it's going to be okay, and there are many ways to work through this transition. And it is a shift of consciousness that's happening on an individual level. And that is what's creating the shift of consciousness on this planet. I mean, the planet is shifting through us. That's where the consciousness is shifting, you know.
Definitely.
And we signed up to, you know, we were birthed into I'm going to call it a lower consciousness, but let's just say not so broad a consciousness, like smaller. And now we're kind of expanding. We can, you know, see more colors, we can feel more feelings, be more connected to infinite wisdom. And that's our truth. So we're really coming home to our truth. And that's where cleansing has really surprised me, and why now I carry it on as a program that I run pretty much regularly, continuously, because it helped me solve a lot of my health issues that were going on. And I had some, you know, really, really challenging and traumatic at the time health issues. And B, it's a and it can really tell you forward. Where I know in my last program, one of our beautiful people who participated said, I thought this was going to take me years of spiritual practice to connect to myself at the level I have, you know, connected with within 3 weeks. And it's, you know, it's really refreshing to know, as consciousness is shifting, it doesn't take as long to actually have great breakthroughs. And nothing needs to change except for ourselves and our inner vibration. And as that does, our whole perception can open, can soften. We can receive more light. We can feel more hope, more connection, more happiness, just lightness, really. So yeah, I'm really passionate about cleansing because it is so helpful on so many levels. Physically, health issues gone. I, you know, myself, I had a lump in my breast, I had a K3 smear, I had skin issues, anxiety, you know, lack of focus, concentration, all clear, improve. Spiritually, more connected, a greater stillness comes, because what we find is that the foods are one thing, but what's going on in the body is kind of a layer of it's like chaos. And it's almost like a shaky energy when it can come from being stressed, it can come from the foods, it can come from the traumas, the illnesses, they're all kind of interlinked. But through the cleansing, a lot of that just begins to calm, and a stillness begins to come, and a real deep vulnerability. And that's actually you know, like a portal back into our power, back into our center. And to do that with a group of people who are journeying together, it's really beautiful, intimate sharing. And as each person makes a breakthrough and shares it, and it can even be a challenge, you know, and then the breakthrough, everyone gets that benefit, and we just all grow together. It's a real kind of little, you know, journey of love and companionship, and, you know, like brotherhood, sisterhood. We got you, and because we see each other go through the challenge, we see each other make the breakthrough, and we get a bit of that blessing. So yeah, I'm probably talking a lot now about this blessing, and you might need to keep me on track.
But I mean, I remember when I took your cleansing program a year ago, I remember that, you know, one of the great things about your program is that we would have the weekly call, right, where everybody would share, you know, what they had been going through, you know, the challenges, the wins, you know, all of it. And that's the great thing. Like I love group workshops, you know, workshops and courses and retreats and all of that, because it's in that sharing, right? It's when people share that, you know, it's like you're having the voice, right? It's like you're voicing whatever it is that you're going through, and then you're also helping everybody in that group, right? So that sharing in the group dynamic is amazing. And I think it's so great, because we all learn from each other. We all learn from each other that way. Yeah. So yeah, that is a great part. That is a great part of your cleansing. your cleansing program. Definitely.
What always mix, the cleansing and what that means, be it super greens, proteins, fats, non-sugars, as well as spiritual awakening and, the I am presence within us evolving, so that we get to witness the two together. And that's why I like it too. It's hard to separate them, and it's nice to combine them. And I just find it's particularly powerful, effective, and enjoyable. Like a lot of people, the biggest gift you can give yourself and others is just time and space, especially when you're going through change. Time and space to be, to question, to think, to share. And in that, so much happens naturally. It's beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with that, right? Like when you create that time and that space, that's when the magic can happen. That's when those breakthroughs, when those breakthroughs happen, and those aha moments, right? Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. And the cleansing process, and it's so much more than just the food, right? Because it's so much more than the food. Yeah.
Everyone thinks of a cleanse as a total, in the physical realm. It's your food, it's your body. But we know from running the program and watching, it's actually quite a lot of fun to watch it, because what happens is that our whole ego begins to get activated. And the first part of a cleanse is usually watching what you eat, really enjoying what you eat, and just beginning to gently align. I believe in gentleness. I believe in transitions and providing transition time. I'm not so much about, changing completely overnight, because what happens when we do that is and it'll still happen even with the gentle, but on an easier level, we activate the inner rebel, I call it. The inner rebel is the first thing to get activated in the cleanse. And like my example of my inner rebel is, I'm not a big coffee drinker. I do like some sweets and stuff, and I love to enjoy the world. So I love to cleanse and be really, really strict, and I'll be 100%. And I love to not cleanse, and I love to enjoy both, because it creates more balance in my body, I find. But the first thing that happens with the inner rebel is like, I want a cappuccino and I want a cake, and that packet of wine gums over there, please. Just having a bag of chips because I want them, and and it's so funny to give this space and time and this witnessing and to share it with others. So that's kind of where it all begins to go, and then people get really worried, and it's what happens, especially if you're doing it on your own. I'm sure most people can relate, saying, oh, today I'm going to start eating really well, or today I'm going to make a change, and then it's hard to keep that going, to get the motivation. But we know that, and this is why we take a month for this program, that after about 5 days, the inner rebel gets a little bit tired and begins to surrender.
All right,
It's enjoy it, see it as entertainment, and bring this lightness in, this lack of judgment, this just kind of, it's like one of my favorite statements for transformation is when things come up, just to say, that's okay. In a story, like, that's okay. And suddenly there's no big drama, we haven't done anything wrong, there's no shame, nothing, it's okay. And we do change naturally, especially when we have a bit of an intention, bit of an intention, bit of a vision. And it doesn't have to be, that we're holding it the whole time, but just put it out there. And then we begin to go into the deeper levels, and then the emotion begins. So after the inner rebel begins to surrender, then a bit of emotion can begin to come up. We sometimes get a bit excited for about 3 days, and we're like, yeah, I got this. And next thing, the emotions, because what we find is that we're using our foods, and primarily sugars. And I mean, we know who didn't fall and get given a biscuit or a lollipop or something, or have a little challenging moment, and the parent, and this is just how it works in this world. It's totally okay. But we realize how much we're placating ourselves with sugars, with cappuccinos, with all these things. Like, my first realizations as I was cleansing was, I used to love going to a cafe because I worked for myself, and I'd often work from home. So I'd go to a cafe and work from there. And I thought it was great. And I realized when I was cleansing, the only reason I was going to the cafe was because I liked the cappuccinos and cake. Because when you remove them, and I wasn't having them, I was like, I'm not going to this place, it's loud. So it's kind of funny to see what happens. And then this emotion begins to come, because we're no longer, placating ourselves, and it begins to come up. And again, great to do this in a group. Watch it. We do like some balancing practices, working with the 5 elements, creating sound. I'm a big believer in sound and sound healing, and in expressing these feelings. Because now, as you know, like, we're in between summer solstice, winter solstice 2021. We're going through huge trauma release in the world, huge trauma release in our individual journeys, and changing patterns. So this is what's coming up when you cleanse too, like things that go back to your childhood. Like it's almost like you're just taking the cork off, you know, a little bit of steam's coming out, but that can go all the way down throughout your life. And we begin to release that. We can release that with the cleanse, and it creates again that space and time. And that's where the really deep transformation begins to come. Yeah, there can be some challenging days, but what people find is that those challenges come and go. They tend to be short periods. It could be a day at the longest. And that's a deep emotion. And that's something really beautiful when you've consciously chosen to give yourself space and time to grow. You know, when you're seeing it from that perspective, the next day you wake up and you will feel clearer. And of course, we give lots of tips. We help people alkalize their body, which is really, really important for shifting your pH and your whole kind of chemistry and how the mind works. So when you're taking your little tips in and you're doing things like, you know, I really believe in very light fast, that's fine. But I believe in breakfast, lunch, dinner. I believe in lots of healthy food and enjoying every mouthful. So you're having your stable meals, you're alkalizing your body, and things actually do begin to rebalance. And then you go deeper and deeper and deeper inwards. So about the second to third week, we begin to become vulnerable, but really connected to our inner wisdom. And I think that's really where the icing on the cake begins. Because then you can tap into, and often we're going like, and even myself, it still happens to go, oh, what is this? Like, what is this? It's just deep quiet, like, and we find that, like, because we're, you know, placating traumas and little emotional challenges, we're also not purposefully, but it happens, avoiding the stillness, the calmness, the infinite wisdom, the God, you know, the God light within. And suddenly this becomes like an intention and a purpose to open to it. And all I can say is that people's lives tend to shift, you know, in the days and weeks that follow a cleanse, like, because it is a shift in vibration. You're literally releasing part of the old self, the child self, moving into a clearer version of ourselves. And I just love how things drop out of your life in that month or the weeks that follow and come into your life. And it's definitely happened in my journey many times. And sometimes you think, you know, somebody might have something going on in their life and they're like, oh, how can I sort this out? It could be a challenging neighbor, it could be, you know, difficult relationship, could be something in work. And it just goes because you're vibrationally shifted. It's not in that reality, you know, you're not in that reality where they exist, you're here. And if something pops in that you just meet and you go, God, this is quite lovely. So cleansing becomes a really powerful tool for shifting our reality, for our self-healing.
Yeah, definitely. And it's amazing. It's amazing to watch the process, right? Because you've offered this cleansing program so many times. So it must be really, like, you know, amazing for you to watch the journey that everybody goes through. And you've probably seen the patterns, right? That week 1, usually this happens, week 2, this happens, week 3, like you kind of see the patterns, but then also for yourself, you know, because every time you do a cleansing program, you do it yourself as well, right? So it's like a different journey for you as well.
Yeah, I never get cocky. Like, life is a continually humbling experience for everyone. You know, so if anyone out there is feeling like challenged or humbled, I'm with you. And so when I go in a cleanse, like, you might think after your 5th cleanse or your 10th, I got this,
like,
you know?
I know it all. I know it all. But no, you always learn new things, right?
No chance. Day 2, I could be even, you know, going, oh my God, I want the cake or whatever. So
you still get cravings for cake as well, Orla.
Yeah, I do.
You're human. You're human. Yeah.
We're all human, apparently, on some level. So yeah, I always take each one, and it's like, if we can even do that with each other each time we meet, take it as a new moment, you know, open to it. It's a new journey.
Yeah.
I love that part of it because it can do it, you know, that new reality as well each time. But something that I've had a really great kind of gift in the last couple of years is that there've been people coming on the cleanse who are returning. So I've got to see their journeys unfolding. And quite a few people have actually really accelerated on their spiritual paths who've been cleansing. And that's why it's like, it's a cleanse and a spiritual awakening journey. And so, you know,
together. It works together. Yeah.
And then they're coming back in and they're offering a workshop, you know, and connecting to your guides, or, you know, tuning in. And I love it because I do see us more as a family. I see us all as peers, as sisters and brothers helping each other, you know, and we all have keys. And consciousness, infinite consciousness, which is, you know, one voice, God consciousness, is speaking through everyone. So the more of us that we can open up and share, the more joy and the more activation, and expansion we
Yeah.
all experience. So I love that. I love how we're growing as a community in these ways as well, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And it is about community these days. I think that one of the things about this new earth, this new earth that we're all creating, co-creating together right now, one of the big things is community, right? One of the big things is that we need to unite, right? We need to unite in all ways and let go of the separation, let go of the division, in all ways. We need to unite, and it's all about, forming communities together, working in communities together, yeah, working in groups together. That's what this new earth is about.
I totally agree. I love it in India, they often call you Mataji when you're there, and it's like mother. So they refer to everyone as mother. So if it's not your partner, a woman is either your sister or your mother, and it's the same.
Oh,
It's
that's
beautiful,
beautiful.
and every woman
Yeah.
is a mother to every child in a way, and I kind of
Yeah.
resonate with that. Not having my own children, I look at all children with a motherly love,
Yeah,
and
me too. Me too. I don't have my own children, but yeah, like, exactly. Yeah.
and we can love these children this way. And there is a saying, and I think it's by the Dalai Lama. He said, well, I don't think it has to be just Western world women, but he said Western world women will change the world when they start to work together. And as women, if we can work together and we can let down, like, we have to remember that if we feel a little bit uncomfortable working with another woman, more so it happens between women, but it could be with another person, it could be with a man. That's just a pattern. That's just a pattern that's playing through us. And that is the shift
Right.
in consciousness. And that's the transformation. If we can, okay, there's discernment, right? So as long as we can trust and we can discern that this is safe, we can let go of that pattern. We are
Yeah.
really uniting, and that's a really beautiful thing that all of us are being faced with and given the opportunity to become real sisters, real family, real community on these
Yeah.
levels. And I think it holds incredible potential for love. And I think the
Yeah.
whole part of realm of relationships is changing, because intimate
Yeah.
community, it doesn't have to go into the sexual field. It goes into sharing your feelings. It goes into being witnessed. It goes into supporting. And just think, like, have you ever really experienced a supportive person in your life? Have you ever
Yeah.
felt really, really supported? Like, a lot of people will say no to that question, which is,
Yeah.
it's heartbreaking. And I think all of us can relate to that at some stage where we really didn't think we were supported. So if you can feel supported by one, like, truly, truly, like, no matter what you do, Laura, I'm with you,
Mhm.
I'm here, like, you just go for it, I'm right behind you, doing that to your kidneys, like sending light into them, and we can begin to do that in groups. Wow,
Yeah.
and yeah, anything's possible.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned how relationships are changing, and I really feel like now is the time. I've given several talks, about conscious relationships and how to create those conscious relationships, right? And it's about those divine feminine energies and those divine masculine energies coming together and finding balance, right? I
Yeah,
think that that's what's happening in this new earth as well.
I agree. And
Yeah.
a respect as well, a
Yeah.
respect and an allowing.
Yeah.
It's very sweet. It's sweetly beautiful, I think.
Yeah, sweetly, exactly. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because it's about finding balance, right? It's about finding balance with everything, right?
Yeah.
Because right now, the world right now is, a little out of balance, right? So we want to find that balance. And of course, we find that balance, like first we find that balance within ourselves, right? Like everything starts with us, right? Everything begins and ends with us, right? So first we do the inner work on ourselves, and then that gets reflected into the outside world as well. That's why I think it's really important for everybody to think about, what kind of world do you want to live in? Like what kind of, how do you want this new earth to look, right? And
Mm,
yeah, and because we're co-creating that new earth together now,
mhm,
so yeah, I mean, I would say, that most people, want a balanced world, with harmony and teamwork and community and all of that, right? So we have to let go of all the division and all the segregation, and all of that, right? Like to create this new earth, right? To co-create this new wonderful earth that we're in the middle of creating, and through the shift of consciousness that we're going through now, which you also mentioned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And hold that vision and that prayer. We are so powerful. We are the co-creators. You know, we
Well,
are
we're
here to
definitely the co-creators, and I think it's also important for everybody to think about it on an individual level, right? In terms of, because many times, many times we can, kind of give our power away, to the government and to the rules and this and that, right? But instead of focusing on that, like focus on your inner self, right? Like focus on finding, that balance and that peace and that stability within yourself, right? Regardless of, what the government is telling you or whatever, right? Like find that inner peace and stability
I
and
totally
harmony.
agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's there. I mean, I can
It's
feel it
there.
right here in this moment. And that's where a
Yeah.
practice like meditation, for somebody it might be walking, for somebody it might be knitting, it could be
Yeah.
listening to music, making music, each to their own, but finding a way to harness and connect to it each day and breathe with it for 5, 10 minutes and hold
Yes.
it. And this is important work. You know, if you're being really responsible on this planet as a light worker, this is what I'd be encouraging people to do.
Yes.
Tune into that energy. It's ever present. For I am not so concerned about a lot of what's going on, and purely because I do feel this peace, and this is my anchor. I'm anchored into it. I'm holding it. I'm seeing it. I'm feeling it, and I'm trusting it's unfolding through us all.
Yes.
I'm praying for ease with that. I'm praying for the awakening of the hearts of all people in this land of Ireland, you know, and in this world,
Yeah.
and trusting that this is unfolding too in its own divine way. But yeah, I'm with you on that
Yeah.
vision and that peace and that space. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can feel it, like I can feel it, inside myself, and yeah, that's how we create it, right? Like we find that inner love, that inner light, that inner stability, that inner harmony, all of that, like within ourselves, to then, share it with the outside world. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And
definitely. And yeah. And I
some,
feel, yeah, I feel like there's a big, Ireland is such a special place. I've been here for such a long time, and this Celtic energy, and Ireland has a very special energy about it. And it really feels like there is like an awakening happening in Ireland, and like a blossoming happening in Ireland, which will then have a ripple effect to the rest of the world as well.
yeah, I know many people believe this, Laura. So
Yeah.
nice to hear you say it. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I think that's one of the reasons that I've been in Ireland so long. It's definitely not the weather.
yeah, it's not the weather, but it's
It's not the weather, but there's more to Ireland. There's more to Ireland than the weather. So
it is a very heart-centered nation, you know,
it
and
is.
it's great that you're here because you bring so much joy and lightness, and you know, it's like no matter what happens, Laura's still there, throwing a little bit of sparkles everywhere into everyone's hearts, you know, and into their minds, like with a smile. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
thank you, Orla. Well, yeah, well, you do the same thing, like I try to, I try to do my part, to bring, love and light and joy to the world. And one thing that I always say is that it's a choice. It's a choice. Like, it's your choice. If you choose, if you're a happy person, if you're a positive person, and all of that, like, if you choose to see the glass as half full or half empty, right? Because, I mean, as you know, I mean, I've had huge challenges in my life, right? So, I mean, I could have made the choice of, thinking like, oh my God, life is so unfair. Why did I have to go through everything that I went through, right? But instead, I've
Mm,
I've taken all of those experiences, and what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I'm very strong because of those experiences, and I choose to live life to the fullest. And I find joy in everything around me, right?
yeah.
So it's always a choice. It's always a choice.
Yeah, and well done. You know, you're leading by example. You're following your own path, and it's not the easiest route often. Sometimes we feel like we've no choice because you're being true to yourself, you know, and in that way there is only one path. But well done,
Yeah.
because it takes energy and perseverance and a lot of strength. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'd like to thank you for that and all you're
Oh,
doing
well,
and
thank
bringing.
you.
Mm,
Well, thank you so much. And I'd like to, thank you as well for,
mm.
for everything that you bring to the world, and you share with the world. So yeah, and thank you so much, Orla. Thank you so much, for being my guest today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Laura, for having me. And one thing I'd love to say is, because you're talking about this vision for the world, and
Yes.
chances are somebody might watch this video somewhere and they'd be like, yeah, but like, how do I hold a vision for the world? And it's,
Yeah.
so somebody might have a vision for the world. They might be able to kind of get that mentally as a picture, as a feeling. It just doesn't really matter, however it comes to the person. But also just to, to share that it's really great to have a vision for today, and for each person to maybe set that out, like a vision, or and it's not something that we kind of think of and decide in the head. It's more something that we receive. And that's why just taking those 5 or 10 minutes in the morning and allowing the heart to open up, the mind to relax, the whole body to relax, and say, like, what's the vision for today? And sending love into it, into the day ahead, and gratitude for the opportunities and the connections that will come. To break it down into the now, into this day, I think is a really powerful, simple tool. And then as
Yeah.
we go through our day, if we notice we're getting irked, because come on, we're all human, we can get irked or irritated, like, it's
Yeah.
okay. No one's expecting perfection here, or, you are already perfect, basically, this is part of your perfection. But to
Yeah.
realize that's where transformation occurs, so be that transformation taking a breath and walking away, or just being like, normally I'd get irritated, but because I'm aware and I'm saying, I'm going to make a cup of tea and do something nice, for somebody or that person or myself. And I think that actually that's where everything happens today,
Yeah.
in these simple little moments of, yeah, if there's anyone watching, just want to send them love in this moment along with you. And, for all the little changes, all those little efforts, because we're all patterns, and we're quite innocent of these patterns. We've come in, they exist in this world, they exist in our ancestral lineage. And we're pattern changers, and that's what healing is. It's kind of a pattern changer and a release of pent up energy. So yeah, love and respect and acknowledgement to all the pattern changers out there and all the people who are doing their best. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're with you. We're all together.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Orla, for putting it in such a beautiful way. And I agree completely. It's about, living the present moment, and to set the intention for the day, right? And to, send that positive energy into that day, and
So powerful.
align with that positive energy. Definitely.
Yeah,
And focus on what you want, and focus on the gratitude, right? Yeah.
that's everything. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
definitely. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for putting it in such a beautiful way. And what's the best way to reach you if somebody wants to reach out to you? What's the best way to reach you?
Brilliant. Well, if anyone's listening and they would like to reach out, I really welcome them to get in contact. We're all family, as I said, and community. And I'm looking at potentially developing an online community at the moment, so they'd be welcome to get involved in that. I have a Facebook page, Orla Phelan Natural Wellbeing, and I
Okay.
have an Instagram page, and I have a YouTube channel,
Hmm.
and I have a website, which is probably a good place to start. It's Orla Phelan, OrlaPhelan.com.
Hmm.
And any or all of these ways, drop me a DM and let's see what happens. Let's have a party.
Very
Yeah.
good, very good. So several ways to get in touch with you. That's great. Well, thank you so much, Orla. This has been absolutely amazing, and thank you everybody for joining us today. I hope you feel inspired to live your best life. I hope you feel inspired, to look into a cleansing program. You can look into Orla's, cleansing program, and as I mentioned, I took that program, and it was amazing. It was amazing on a physical level, and it was also amazing on a spiritual level, as well. So yeah, you remember to live in the present moment, to remember to send that positive energy out into your life and into the world, and fill yourself up with love, light, and energy,
Mm.
and joy, and harmony. And the more you vibrate those feelings, the more those kinds of that kind of energy will come back to you, right? So
Totally, like we are love, and when we're love,
yeah.
we're home. So it's like, and that's why I think it can be so challenging when we're not feeling, allowing ourselves to.
Exactly, exactly. Become that love.
Mm.
Become that love, that you
Mm.
already are. So yeah, live life. Live
Absolutely,
live
yes.
life to the fullest in every way. So don't forget to subscribe, and give me some likes and comments. And remember that every Friday I post a new interview here, on the channel. So share with your friends and your family, and you can reach me by emailing me at lauracoaching@gmail.com. And my website is laurarenenkowski.com. And then you can also follow me on social media on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. So for now, bright lights, stay happy, be well, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye. And thank you so much, Laura. It's been such a pleasure connecting with you here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Orla. Bye.